Hello, dear students, and I welcome you all to the second part of the fourth chapter of civics, that is laws and democracy. So, students, in the previous part, we have learned about what are laws, and we have seen that how public opinion plays an important role in the forming of law in a democratic country like India. We have learned about what are unpopular and what are controversial laws, and in this part we are going to learn about two basic important laws, or we can say two act that we are going to learn about in this chapter. In your book it is given in case study. Okay, so let's start this part. So first of all, in the case study of your book, it is given about the Right to Information Act. Okay, so before we are going to learn about the Right to Information Act, let's learn about the right. What is right to information? Okay, so basically, right to information is our fundamental right. It is also the fundamental right that comes under right to freedom. Now, let's see what is right to information. As we have learned about the right to freedom of expression and speech, I have explained you in the second part or second chapter also about what is right to freedom. In that, there is a right that gives us the freedom to speech or express. That means we are free to express ourselves, our opinion freely in country like India. So basically, in the Article 19, it is given about freedom of speech and expression, and of that article only, the part A provides us the right to information. Let's see what is right to information. So, right to information is given in article, as you can see, article is 19(1)(a). The Article 19(1)(a) of the Indian Constitution, it guarantees all the citizens the right to freedom of speech and expression. That means we are free to express our views and we are free to keep our views on any topic or any subject. Okay, so basically this law states that the right to information states that all citizens shall have the right to freedom of speech and expression. Now, what is right to information? As we are knowing that our government is working for us, so in India we are free to ask the government about the whatever laws they are enacting, whatever policies they are enacting, how much amount of fund they are investing on which field. Okay, so basically we are free to ask about those things to the government. That is only right to information. Right to information provides us the freedom of speech and expression. Okay, now let's see what is Right to Information Act. Okay, RTI, it is known as RTI, and it is known as Right to Information Act. That means the Constitution of India provides us the right to information. That means we are free to ask, or we are free to ask any information from the government body, from any department. We can ask information related to how much fund is invested, how that planning is going on. Okay, so all these things we can ask. So let's see what is Right to Information Act. So basically, first we will know that when this right came into effect. So the Right to Information Act came into effect from October 2005. Please remember, when this question may come like this, that when is the Right to Information Act came into effect? So our answer will be October 2005. Now basically what this act states, okay, so this act state that we as a citizen of India are free to ask any information from the government body, or the body that is aided by the government. That means that the body that is run by the government, the organization that is running by the government. So we are free to ask information from a public authority, that means a government body, and that government body has to receive or has to give us the reply. Whatever question, whatever request, whatever complaint we are giving or filing with the help of RTI, the government is has to give us the reply within 30 days. Okay, so this is the procedure that we have to file an RTI, and after filing that RTI, the government will send it to the required department, to whatever department it is belonging to, and then the department will reply us within 30 days. Okay, so basically why we follow, so let's have a look. The government body has to reply that RTI application in 30 days. Okay, so why we are having the right to information? We are having the right to information to increase transparency. That means so that every we can know that how our government is working, and to make our government answerable. Because if the government is knowing that yes, we are there to ask questions from them, that how you are doing this work, how much amount you are investing, then obviously they will do the work properly. So it is basically to increase the transparency. That means we can also know that how our government is working. Open system should be there, and to increase the accountability, to make the government answerable to us. So that is why this RTI is introduced, and basically it is to reduce the corruption in India. This is introduced to reduce the corruption in India. Now let's see need of the Right to Information Act. That means what was the need of Right to Information Act? So basically the need of right, let's see what is the first need: to promote openness, transparency and accountability. Remember these three words. Openness, that means we as a citizen should also know that how our government is working, how much money is investing on which field, okay, who is responsible for which department. So this is only known as the openness. Transparency is also for the same thing, that we can know that how our government is working. Okay, and we can come if our work is not completed, or if we are facing any issue or any problem, then we can file RTI. Suppose that you have applied for an Aadhaar card, okay, and you are not getting the Aadhaar card on time, and if you are facing any problem related to that Aadhaar card, okay, so you can file an RTI that yes, why there is so much late, why we are having these informations in the Aadhaar card. You can ask all these things. Okay, so basically RTI provides us various informations. Now accountability, that I have explained you, our government is answerable to us whatever work they are doing. Okay, so next is to reduce corruption. The If the system will be open, if everyone is knowing the how the work is going on, then it will reduce the corruption. Next is to prevent the administrative arbitrariness. That means to prevent the administratives, the officials that are working for us, they do not become we can say that they do not start discriminating us, or they are not discriminating us on any basis. So basically it is to avoid the officials to become arbitrary, to become individually whatever they are willing to do, they are working. So it avoid the administrative arbitrariness. Okay, next is to bridge the gap between the providers and the recipient of public service. That means we are the recipient, okay, we are the citizens, so we are receiving the public services like roads, electricity. These are the public services that we are getting. And who are the providers? The government is the providers. Okay, so basically if the road is not constructed properly and the government is responsible for that, we can ask the government officials, whoever department is responsible for constructing the road, that yes, why this road is not constructing in a good manner. Okay, how much amount is allocated for constructing is this road, who is responsible for constructing this road, why these particular measures are not being taken care. Okay, so all these questions we can ask with the help of RTI. So it we can say that it fill the gap between the providers and the recipient. That means it fill the gap between the government and the public. Now to make citizens the part of decision making, by this also the citizens can become the part of decision making, because we used to complain, file our complaint with the help of RTI, we used to advise the government with the help of RTI. So basically it is to make the citizens the part of decision making. To strengthen the foundations of democracy, we are knowing that India is a democratic country, and in a democracy the support of people or the public opinion plays an important role. So this RTI is strengthened, that means it makes the democracy powerful and strong. Okay, so these are the need of Right to Information Act. If someone asks you, so you are going to give all these points. Basically for the openness, for transparency, for the accountability of the government, we can say to reduce the corruption, we can say to prevent the administrative arbitrariness, so that administrative should be answerable to us. So this is the need of the Right to Information Act. Now let's see what kind of information we can ask through RTI, what kind of information we can ask. Okay, so basically we can ask, we can file our complaint, we can ask for any kind of information from them, like we can ask about our Aadhaar card, we can ask about our complaint against corruptions, like someone is asking bribe from us, this work is not going properly in this department, they are not listening you in this department. Okay, problems related, sometimes people used to ask the problem, personal problem related to them, like electricity problem, water problem, road construction problem. Okay, how much fund is allocated for constructing the road, how much fund is allocated for maintaining the electricity in a particular area, and the questions related to your passports, questions related to your provident fund. Provident fund means pf amount, it is, you can ask to your father, those who are working in government organizations, they are getting pf also, there's some amount of salary is being saved in a particular manner, that is only known as pf. Pension, income tax, about all these questions we can ask through RTI. Okay, so these informations we can ask about the records, we can ask about documents, we can ask mails. Okay, we can ask their opinion, we can ask their advices, images also we can ask. Okay, their particular record we can ask, that how much money you all are investing in which where. Okay, so all these are the things that we can ask for the information from through RTI. Now next, grievance means our shikayats, our complaints. Okay, next is who accept the request or complaint of RTI, who is there to accept our request, to whom we are going to write our application. So we are going to write our application to the public information officer. Okay, so there is a public information officer known as PIO, and there is one more officer, that is assistant public information officer, who is there in the absence of public information officer. Now, what is the responsibility of the public information officer? As the RTI application will be sent to him, we will write on behalf of him only, him or her only. Public information के behalf पे लिखेंगे. And as the application went to him, what happened? He is responsible, he or she is responsible for sending it to the required department. Suppose that the application is related to the electricity department, so he will send it to the electricity department of government. If the problem is related to the pension department, so it will send it to the pension department. So whatever problem we have asked, whatever complaint we have filed, all the problems, he or she is responsible, the public information officer is responsible for sending it to the required government organization. Okay, so basically we can ask for the RTI information to the bodies that are running by the government only, not the private bodies. Okay, if you want to ask any information from the regarding private organization, like if we want to ask information regarding hospitals, private hospitals, so we cannot get any information because those are not running by the government. Okay, so the organizations that are running by the government and the departments that are the part of the government, they can only provide us the RTI, whatever information regarding. How RTI was act was adopted. Let's see this, how this act came or started in 2005. So basically there was in the early 90s, there was a Mazdoor Kisan Shakti Sangathan. Okay, you can see it is a Mazdoor Kisan Shakti Sangathan, and it is particularly, Sangathan means it is an organization, it is a group of some peasants that were asking for their rights. Okay, so this was started then in 1990s, the Mazdoor Kisan Shakti Sangathan. Remember, question पूछ सकता है that how the RTI came into existence. Okay, or by which organization, by which Sangathan RTI came into existence. So your answer will be, yeah, who put efforts for the we can say that for the filing of RTI. So our answer will be the Mazdoor Kisan Shakti Sangathan. Now, about which, so it is began a movement to bring transparency to village financial accounts. So basically there was a village that you can see the name of the village, Dev Dungri. Okay, this village is in Rajasthan. This village asked the government for the transparency in the financial accounts. That means how much you are investing for the development of this village. We want to know how much you are doing for the benefit or for the welfare of the farmers of this village. We want to know. So basically it was an organization or a group of peasants, those who were willing to know informations regarding their rights and what the government is doing for the welfare of the people belonging to that village. So this movement was led by Aruna Rai. Aruna Rai was an RTI activist. She is RTI activist, and this movement was led by her only. This movement was started in Rajasthan. This question may also ask that this Sangathan belongs to which state? Okay, the Mazdoor Kisan Shakti Sangathan belongs to which state? So your answer will be Rajasthan. This question may ask that who led this movement? Yeah, who was the leader of this movement? Your answer will be Aruna Rai. As you can see the picture of Aruna Rai, she is Aruna Rai. She is RTI activist who fought for the art informations of the village in Rajasthan to the government. Let's see what happened later. The by their movement, the government provides information on bills, vouchers related to purchase and transportation of material and payment and employment record. The government provides them information regarding how much they have invested in that village. Okay, they send the investing amount, that which how much amount is invested where. They sent them the what how many whatever transportation of material, that how much material is transporting from this village. Okay, the employment record, how many people have got the employment in this village. So all these records they have sent, that what they have done for the benefit or for the development of that village. Later on what happened, this information helps in reducing the corruption of that village. Okay, when the people of that village got information that yes, government is doing this much, so it reduces the corruption. Openness is there, we are knowing that what the government is claiming and what exactly the government is working. Suppose that the government announces that yes, they are going to invest 5 crores for the construction of this road. Okay, and they, and if when we have seen the work of the road construction and the road is started damaging, okay, in the first rain only or after 2-3 months only, then we have filed the RTI to know that if the government has allocated 5 crore of funds for constructing a particular road, then why this road is not properly constructed, why this road started damaging so soon if this much amount is spent on this. So basically the government is provide us the information that yes, they how much amount they have invested on that. Yes, if they have spent 5 crores of amount on that road, they will give us the particular bill. Yes, this amount, this much amount is spent on this thing. Okay, so basically this is the way through that creates openness between the provider and between the service recipient. I hope it is clear to you all. Now let's see. This question may also ask, or it is very important. Rajasthan was the first state to adopt Right to Information Act in 2000. That means in the state legislature of Rajasthan, firstly, Rajasthan was the state that adopted it as Right to Information Act in 2000. In 2000 only, Rajasthan adopted this Right to Information as Act. It became Act in Rajasthan. Okay, so later on, slowly, the RTI Act at the state level was adopted by different states. After Rajasthan, there were many states that adopted RTI Act in their state level only. Okay. After that, Aruna Roy became a part of National Advisory Committee. She became a part of National Advisory Committee of Parliament, and she suggested that she was only responsible for the RTI bill, and she helped the RTI bill to be introduced in the parliament on 2004. So basically the National Advisory Committee, after so many suggestions provided by Aruna Roy, she suggested some changes to the existing Freedom of Information Act, and based on all these recommendations, the RTI bill was tabled in the parliament. That means it was introduced in the parliament in 2004. Okay, and in 2005 the bill was passed in whole country and it became an act. So RTI, not only the states, now RTI become an act by the central government in the parliament. So now RTI is being followed in every state of India, leaving Jammu and Kashmir, because Jammu and Kashmir do not follow the parliament, or it is not, it was a separate state So that is why, except Jammu and Kashmir, this was passed in all over the country. Now let's see how we can file an RTI. If we, as a I or you, as a citizen of India, if you are having, if you want to seek any information and if you want to ask any problem, any complaint, any request, so you can file an RTI. So how we can file an RTI? So any citizen of India who desires to obtain any information may make a request to the PIO, that is Public Information Officer. If I and you want to ask about any information from the government, then we can file an RTI. Each individual is free to file an RTI. So basically individual RTI should only be filed. Group में RTI नहीं file करते कभी भी. So the application can be in writing or through electronic media also, means also. Nowadays so online application forms are available for the RTI, for filing the RTI. Earlier it was not like that. Earlier writing form में application has to file. So basically the application can be filed in writing also and in electronic means also. The applicant has to write his or her name or address. We have to give our address or we have to give our name or whatever contacts are there we have to give. But there is no need to give the reason or justification that why we are asking this information. It is not needed. Okay, only we have to ask the information. There is no need to give that why we are asking. And one more thing, word limit is there. The application should not exceed 500 words. That means we have to give it in compact way. The application should not exceed 500 words, excluding our whatever address or name is there. Now next is, we can see next, the applicant is entitled to get reply within 30 days. The day we are filing the RTI, the and the government or the that body is responsible for replying us within 30 days, and if in 30 days the reply did not come, then we are free to file RTI again. We can reappeal, we can appeal again, we can give our complaint or request again, file to the RTI if we are not getting information. Okay, so there are some department in Indian government that has to be confidential. That means they do not share their information. That means the defense department, if you will ask regarding any information regarding the defense department, then our government will not provide. And there are some issues in India or in any country that are confidential, that are not for everyone to know. So leaving only these informations, every other information they will provide us. So there are restriction in RTI also. We cannot ask for the we cannot get the answer for the confidential questions or the confidential departments of the government. So basically this is how we can file an RTI. Language, you can write in any language, whether you can write in English or Hindi, okay, or the official language of your area. There are 22 officially recognized language. So whatever official languages of that area, they can file the RTI in that language. Okay, now we will learn about, this is over, RTI is over. We are going to learn about NCERT. All of you are very familiar with this name, NCERT. The full form of NCERT is, you have to remind this, National Council of Educational Research and Training. As you are knowing that NCERT is an organization that is basically working for the education of the country, and it is run by the union government. Okay, so it advises the, it is an basically it is for union. All of you are knowing that CBSE is a state country board, it is central board. So basically NCERT is responsible to advise the union and state governments on education policies. We have learned about lots of books of NCERT. So they decide the curriculum also, they decide the grading system also. So they are responsible to introduce, they decide that how teachers should be educated, how. So basically this council works in the education, for the education development in our country. Okay, because education is of very much importance, and after the independence our education was lagging very much. So that is why NCERT was established in 1961. Please remember this also. In 1961 this organization or this education and council was formed for the betterment of education in India. Okay, next is national policy on education. This time also it is in news when now national policy again change in India. uh, this will come in effect very soon. like we have seen that earlier we were having 10 plus 2 system, like in 10th also we will have board, in 12th also we will have board. So now the new education policy has changed all these things, changed some, introduced some changes, like it was in news before 2 3 days about the national policy, or you can learn about this. So basically before this national policy on education, two policies were earlier introduced. One policy was introduced in 1968 and one policy was introduced in 1986. Okay, so the first national policy on education, it was introduced in 1968. It called for that every children up to the age of 14 is free to get compulsory and free education. Okay, so basically it was for the equalization of educational opportunity, that is education is available for everyone, because there are poor also, there are rich also. Okay, so basically the national policy on education introduces that there should be universal education to every children up to the 14 years of age, compulsory and free education should be provided. Okay, it is basically for the women, scheduled tribes and scheduled caste. Scholarship was also there, adult education also came, prod siksha, adult education also came into existence by the national policy on education. Teachers recruitment also introduced. Okay, basically how much incentives, like midday meal, scholarships, free uniforms, free books should be provided to the students, those who are very poor. So all these things came into the plan by the national policy on education. Okay, revival of various languages, English, Hindi, Sanskrit and various vernacular regional languages through this. So this was only the national policy on education that works for the development of education in India, and it also encouraged the parents in the rural areas to send their children regularly to school, as we are knowing that in rural areas the students do not go to school regularly, or maybe some girls are not going to school at all, they are not get admission in the school only because parents think that they have to do the household work. So basically to encourage education in the rural areas, this policy was introduced. Okay, the government has continuously realized the need for educating the masses. That means it is very important that the citizen of India should be educated, literate, especially the children, because they are only the future of the country. Okay, so to increase the literacy rate in India, or the time to time national policies are introduced. Firstly it introduced in 1968, then 1986, and then now it was introduced in I think 2000, you can say 2020. Now let's see what is Sarva Siksha Abhiyan. It is written wrong. Sarva Siksha Abhiyan. Okay. Sarva Siksha Abhiyan means education to all. You can, you have, I might be, you have remember, you are remembering this advertisement also. Sab padhe sab badhe, and it is education for all, Sarva Siksha Abhiyan. Now you are knowing what is Sarva Siksha Abhiyan. It is a program aimed at the universalization of elementary education. That means the primary education is important for every children. Universalization of elementary, universalization means for everyone, for every child, whether it belongs to rich or poor caste, family, or whether it belongs to village or city areas. So basically education is free and compulsory to the children, those who are within the age group of 6 to 14. Up to 14 years every government school will provide you free education. Okay, and it is to promote and to develop education in India. Sarv Siksha Abhiyan was introduced. Later on there was a act came into existence, that was Right to Education Act. Right to Education Act was introduced in 2009, and this right gives right to every children to free and compulsory education. Right to education is gives right to every children for free and compulsory education in India. This act was enacted by the parliament and it came into effect on 1st April 2010. You can see this. It was assent of the president on 26th August 2009 and it came into effect in 2010. Basically, the main provision of this act is the RTI Act provides free and compulsory education to all the children of the age 6 to 14 years. This is the most important point of this act because it provides free and compulsory education to each and every children of the country belonging to the age group 6 to 14. The right to education has also become a fundamental right. The act also outlines specific responsibilities for the center also, for the state also, and for the local bodies also, like the schools that are running in the village areas. The village pradhans or the local government is responsible for the funding. The whatever fund is given to them, that should be given to the school authorities for providing midday meals to the student, for providing free uniform, free books to the students, so that we can promote education in the rural areas also, and more students can come to education, so that the literacy rate of India can increase, so the development of education take place in India. So students, this is all for this chapter. This chapter is also over now. I have explained you about RTI. Don't get confused in RTE and RTI. RTI is Right to Information Act that came into effect from 2005, and RTE is Right to Education Act that came into effect on 1st April 2010. Okay, it was, we can say that it was filed it became an act in 2009 only, but it came into effect from 1st April 2010. This act provides free and compulsory education, and right to information provides right to the citizen to ask for any information from the government. So this is all for this chapter. I hope all of you are able to understand. If you are not able to understand, you can ask me through comment box or through WhatsApp group. Students, please watch the video. Again, you all are not watching. We are completing the chapters and you all are not paying attention towards videos. Please watch it properly, regularly. Make a timetable that if teacher is uploading the video regularly, so I will take out something about 30 to 40 minutes for watching that video always. I will make notes. Please watch the videos. Okay. So thank you students. God bless you.